Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'd like to start with a quote. The ears of the leader must ring with the voices of the people. Great president once said that. Mr. President, I rise today to make it clear to everyone in this chamber exactly why I cannot support this legislation. You've heard the chants outside this chamber, not just today and last night, but many times over the past 2 years. Thousands of people have shown up, union and non-union, men and women, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, even their children. These are the working families of Michigan. These are the thousands of people that I would sit here to represent. When I vote no, I'm voting no on behalf of the thousands of families. Who are you voting yes for? Grover Norquist? I know he sent you all a letter asking you to support this anti-worker legislation. You are voting yes because a handful of corporate lobbyists, a handful of fat cats in the back are telling you to. That's who you work for, the powerful few, the guys with top hats and monocles. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. I work for the people, for the many. I proudly represent them in casting this no vote. I'm doing what's right, what's good for the people. And I tell you this, Mr. President, we will fight you. We will not let this stand. We'll fight you from Kalamazoo to Timbuktu. We'll fight you from the streets and in the suites. We'll fight you in the penthouse and we'll fight you in the outhouse. And Mr. President, I'll tell you this right now, when it's all said and done, when it's all over, we will grab the thunderbolt of truth. We will grab the rod of revolution and we will have our victory. And the spoils will go to the working people of Michigan. And you will forever remember the day when you thought you could conquer labor. You were sorely mistaken. Be prepared to engage in the fight of your life. You might win this battle, but the wars are brewing, sir. The wars are brewing, sir. And we're coming, and we're taking no prisoners, and we're taking no quarter. And Mr. President, when all said is done, working men and women of this state will reign supreme. Thank you, and I ask that my comments be printed in the journal.
Hello and welcome to The Young Effect. I am your state senator, Coleman Alexander Young II. Such an honor and privilege to be here with you, broadcasting live as always from TV 33 WHPR. You can see us all around the world at www.tv33whpr.com. That's www.tv33whpr.com. Like I said, we're here. We're going to start as we always do, giving honor to our troops, our men and women who fight abroad, whether they're in Iraq, whether they're in Afghanistan, or whether they are in Syria, wherever they're at. We just want to say we love you. We appreciate you. We're going to be praying for each and every one of you until you come home. We also want to thank our local heroes, our police officers, our firefighters, our emergency services personnel. You put your lives on the line to save other lives every day. You redefine what a hero is because you save people that you don't even know. We thank you for adhering to the call of duty. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll continue to pray for you and for the fallen, both in the military and in our police, fire, and emergency services personnel. Please join me for a moment of silence for the fallen and for those who continue to fight on the front lines for our civil liberties, for our civil societies, and for our freedoms at home and abroad. All right, thank you for that. Numbers for you to call in, 313-868-0351, 313-868-0351. 844-336. The numbers are here on the bottom for you to call. Please call in. We're going to talk about something that I've been wanting to talk about a little bit differently. I want to talk. I was going to kind of dovetail into like the main topic I want to talk about. But right now, before we get things started, I want to start with this question: has Kanye West lost his mind? What is going on? I mean, look, I'm a huge fan of Kanye, or Kanye Titter, or Ye, or Yeezus, or whatever you want to call him. I'm a huge fan. Have been for a while. Even his stuff that people don't really like The Life of Pablo. I still thought some of that stuff on that track was good. I thought that track he did with Tiana Taylor was incredible. And this is more of a collaboration with him and Jay-Z, but I thought Watch the Throne was an amazing piece of artwork. So, it personally, I don't want to make light of this situation because mental health is a serious issue. And we need more money for mental health. Not just in terms of people being able to get the treatment they need, but also in terms of mental health facilities. So our and giving training to our police officers as well, so they're not going out there and just unnecessarily harming people who have mental health conditions and just throwing them in the jail, because that's where a lot of people with mental health are in right now. If you listen to Chief Craig, he'll tell you about 60% on the low side, 70% of the high side of people who are in our Wayne County jail right now are in there because of mental health issues. So it's a serious issue. It should not be taken lightly. People say that Kanye, has mental health issues. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think that Kanye is trying to, from my perspective, I think Kanye is trying to play to a group of people. He's trying to play to the president right now to be able to get whatever he can get out of this moment. And I don't have necessarily a problem. I disagree with sitting down with this president. But if you're going to sit down with this president and you're going to represent the people of Chicago, who we all know have been the murders, the problems that are going on, the shootings that have been going on in Chicago, the murders that have been going on in Chicago. No one talks about the fact that one of the things that led up to that was when the mayor decided to close all those schools in the urban or predominantly minority areas of Chicago to balance the budget. That's where this violence started to really occur. And no one also talks about the fact that the guns that are coming in, the easy access to guns in Chicago, is because over 50% over 50% of the guns in Chicago come from states with loose gun laws. Because nationally, we do not have a federal anti-gun trafficking law in this country. Nor do we have a gun registry in this country nationally. It's not computerized, it's not digitized. So you got people who are going through reams of paper like it's the early 1900s. No, like it's the 1950s and 60s. You ain't gotta go that far back. Like it's the 1900s still. Doing this. That's a different topic for another day. But what I'm trying to say is, if you're gonna go sit down with the president and you're gonna go meet with the president, you should have an agenda. We got any callers? You should have an agenda. What is your agenda item? And I think that is what we really should start talking about. He walked into the room with the most powerful man in the country, a man who's cutting mental health funds, a man who's cutting education programs, a man whose attorney general is encouraging people to lock people up. to enforce the laws of mandatory minimums, to enforce the laws of going after people for low-level drug offenses, who is encouraging law enforcement to be more aggressive when it comes to not only enforcing the laws, but enforcing the laws on the books that we all know have been detrimental to African Americans. And some of these laws put on the books for the sole purposes of locking up black people. When you are in a room like that with this person, who is the leader of the free world, who things that he can say can raise and lower the Dow, you need to have an agenda. And the biggest failure that I saw, that there was no agenda items in that list. And this is during a time where you had people who were suffering from Hurricane Michael, who need assistance, who need help. You have the issue going on over there with the journalists for Saudi Arabia, who is found missing. And now not only does our relationship with Saudi Arabia have to change, one, because of the oil interest or the energy interest that we have with Saudi Arabia, but also due to the fact that we are helping Saudi Arabia fight a proxy war in Yemen. Which I think that we should stop providing them. I think we should stop providing them fuel for planes and weapons, as well as have a conversation to talk to them about Wahhabism as well, which is an extreme form of Islam, which the majority of the attack of people who attacked us on 9/11 practiced. The majority of people were Saudi Arabian. So we have to balance all that out. But we have serious issues that we're dealing with while he's here. And so if you're going to come up there and you're going to represent Chicago, you're going to be an ambassador for African American people, not just in Chicago, in Illinois, but across the country, you should have an agenda. What are we going to do to provide more funding for education? What are we going to do to provide more funding for police officers to keep people safe? What are we going to do to be able to provide more funding for better training for police officers, so they're not just going out there and shooting people just because they feared for their life? We got some callers right now. Caller, you on the air. Welcome to the Young Effect.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. How you doing?
Real good. You know, I'm listening to you, and I agree with you 100% about Kanye West. You go out there with a plan that's going to benefit them. But now the question also becomes, we got a whole lot of so-called, I know some people get mad. I'm talking about pastors.
You breaking up.
And I'm talking about pastors in these big cities of ours and all like that. Why don't we get together and get a plan where we need an opportunity and take it up into one too? We can sit back and talk about crazy, I don't want to call it crazy, Kanye West and his problems happening, going up. And he said, we got enough of leaders that's supposed to be leading us. Why can't a group of them and get up there before him and bring something down? You know, I care nothing about the president. That's just me. I don't agree with nothing he said, except because he's rude, he's ignorant. But then what I'm saying is, while we talk about Kanye West and what's that other man named that ball player name, is Rod. Well, what do we need to get a group out? And I don't mean outside. I'm talking about a separate meeting or something. And you know, I may not be putting it in right way. I hang up, make come call in and clarify.
Okay, man. Look, we appreciate you, brother. We thank you for your call. He's breaking up. We got another caller? Okay. So, listen. First of all, I absolutely agree. Why don't we have more of an agenda here? And I think it's because Kanye West is not interested in really dealing with the issues of African American people. This was all about Kanye, and this primarily was about him trying to ingratiate himself to Donald Trump and trying to ingratiate himself to a certain class of folks in order for him to get advancement for himself. And they were using him as sort of this black man, this token black man, this symbol of what's representative of African American people, so that they can engender, so that they can, I guess, like encourage black folks or youth folks or black millennials to be able to vote for Republicans in the midterms. And so they were trying to use his celebrity, and they were trying to use this man's accomplishments in order to benefit themselves, to promote themselves. This had nothing to do with dealing with the issues and suffering and plight that black people are dealing with on a normal day, every basis, whether it be in Chicago, whether it be in Detroit, whether it be in D.C., or whether it be anywhere else in the country. That had nothing to do with it. That's not what this is about. You are sitting across from the leader of the free world, the most powerful man in the world. They were supposed to be going up there to talk about prison reform. I didn't hear a whole lot of that. We didn't talk about mandatory minimums and repealing that. We didn't talk about the war on drugs, legalizing marijuana and rolling that back. We didn't talk about reforming probation. We didn't talk about probation reform, We didn't talk about getting rid of for-profit bail. Because you got over, I think, 450,000 people who are in jail right now and can't get out because they can't afford bail. We didn't talk about body cameras and more funding for that. We didn't talk about police training. We didn't talk about there's a law called the it's called Military Cooperation with Law Enforcement Act. And basically what that means is that it allowed law enforcement to be able to, local law enforcement, to be able to have access to military bases, intelligence, and equipment to be able to fight the war on drugs. So basically what you're doing is you are treating African Americans in America as an occupying force. And you are using military tactics, military intelligence, and have access to military bases which blew a huge hole in the Posse Competence Act, which was basically designed to prevent military, to prevent the military to be used in civilian policing. It's a law that goes all the way back to the Civil War. Civil War era. Okay? So when you wonder why we have, and that started in the military cooperation with law enforcement, that started with Reagan. So the reason why we have more African Americans now in prison than we did slaves during the Civil War is because of laws that are still on the books to this day that have not been dealt with. They have not been addressed. You could talk about Supreme Court cases. This is why the Michael Kavanaugh decision is so important. Because Wren v. United States basically says that for any low-level offense, a police officer could do a drug search in your vehicle. That's why you see all these black people who are being pulled over for like a busted tail light or because he signaled the wrong way or impeding. Because they have laws that are designed specifically to do that. And if that's not enough for you, or you think what I'm saying is crazy, just look at the discrepancy between cocaine and crack. A 1 to 100 discrepancy. So that means for everyone, that means for me to get, if I got 1 vial of crack, that could be a felony for possession, depending on the charge or whatever else. But for me to get the same charge for crack with 1 vial of crack, I got to get 100 vials of cocaine. Now, who does that help and who does that hurt? Because cocaine was associated with disco, associated with the 80s and rock and roll and glam bam and all that. Those associated with Wall Street. Cocaine is associated with urban areas, inner city, minorities, black people, brown people too, but specifically black folks. When you think of cocaine, you think of Leonardo DiCaprio and The Wolf of Wall Street. You think of crack, you think of Nino Brown in New Jack City. See what I'm saying? Subconsciously, you think that. That was done on purpose. That's what we got the problems that we got now. Now, listen, I understand him talking about plants. I understand, Kanye was also talking about, the auto industry, and that's a good thing in terms of bringing jobs over here. And quite frankly, I'm not saying that I necessarily agree with the way in which Trump did this, but I am glad that we do not have NAFTA anymore. I do think that raising the wages of workers in Mexico will be a good thing for jobs here. We need to rework that deal. I'm not saying that's bad. But how he did it, the way in which he did it, I felt was wrong. I'm not going to go too much into trade right now. That's a little bit of a different issue. But what I'm saying to you is that in the construct of so much stuff going on, and you can even go back. I mean, remember, the reason why marijuana was banned in the first place was because Harry J. Anslinger said that marijuana is a problem because it makes white women susceptible to sleeping with Negroes. And that's what he said during, in front of Congress, when it was the Bureau of Narcotics before it became the DEA. That was the precursor to the DEA. That's how he got that started. And the gateway theory started because he wanted it to be a part of the Boggs Act. Henry Boggs, excuse me, who was, Wade Boggs, a baseball player. Henry Boggs, who was a congressman at that time, who was trying to give harsher penalties for people using cocaine and more significant drugs, serious drugs. Drugs that you take too much, you can overdose and die from. No one's overdosed from marijuana in the history of this planet, ever. But the reason why he did that was because he wanted harsher penalties for marijuana too. Because he wasn't interested so much in going after people who smoke marijuana, more so and so that he was interested in going after certain people who he knew used marijuana, which were black folks at that time, and Latinos, black and brown people at that time, specifically. Whereas the black folks with jazz, or it was our Latino brothers and sisters during the Mexican Revolution and afterwards when they were bringing it over in the country. And you also have Nixie, too, as well, who, remember, said that if we could associate... Okay. So I'm getting something about... I'll say it a little bit later. All right. So, and also Nixon as well. Let's not forget that, too. Who his chief brain trust said that if we could said that we got a problem in this country, and it's the hippies and the Negroes. And if we could get the Negroes associated, he said, no, we can't criminalize them because they're hippies and Negroes. But we can't criminalize them for drugs. And if we could get the hippies associated with marijuana and the Negroes associated with cocaine, we can surveil their leaders. We can raid their homes. We can arrest them and vilify them on the nightly news. Did we know that the war on drugs was a lie? Of course we did. So you have evidence from people who are within key positions of government who are telling you that the war on drugs was not designed to stop drug use. The war on drugs was designed to do what we're doing now, which is lock up black and brown people. And listen, again, I'm not saying that, personally, I think it's the way in which he's going about doing this. When Kanye was talking about the 13th Amendment and repealing it, there's a section in the 13th Amendment that says that slavery is only prohibited. Slavery is prohibited unless in prison. That means that everywhere else is prohibited except in prison. So when he was talking about repealing the 13th Amendment, I think what he was trying to say was deal with that section, that exemption. But the way he said it was just so cartoonish and outlandish and buffoonish that that's what happened. Now, I know some people are like, I'm not going to go listen to another Kanye album in my life. I know I'm not. And I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan of Kanye. Some people say that Kanye hasn't been good since his graduation album. I disagree. I like a lot of his stuff. I even like some of his new stuff. I even like this Yeezus stuff, believe it or not. I know some people say that junk was trash. It was just garbage. It was doo-doo. I liked it. Some of it. Not all of it, but some of it. Was it his best work? No. But for him to allow himself to be exploited like that, to be used like that, to be made as a spectacle like that. And you got to remember, Kanye was also trying to reach out to Colin Kaepernick to have him come down there to be able to have an audience with Donald Trump. So this potentially could not have just sabotaged Kanye. It could have sabotaged what Colin Kaepernick was trying to do when he was trying to take it, and that wasn't even talked about. The fact that he did not hold Donald Trump to account. And Harry Belafonte said that artists are the gatekeepers of the truth. And the fact that he did not try to use his power, his bully pulpit, his influence as an artist to be able to just say to the President of the United States of America that when you say that the NFL owners should say, get those SOBs off the field, it's such a derogatory and proprietary way when you encourage law enforcement to be more aggressive and hostile, particularly in these urban communities, when you totally disregard everything that African Americans are saying about their experiences with the police. And not only treat black people as second class, but do not honor their experiences and are not trying to understand or seek to understand or use your presidency to be able to try to heal the suffering that is going on within the African American community, or just try to repair the breach that has been done. Just show empathy. I mean, how do you not show empathy when a 13-year-old child is killed for carrying a plastic gun and they weren't even taught to? How do you not show empathy for, I know that's a little bit different, but how do you not show empathy for Trayvon Martin? How do you not show empathy for Michael Brown? How do you not show empathy for Laquan McDonald? That officer was charged. How do you not show empathy for Sam DuBose from Ohio? How do you not show empathy for Alton Sterling, for Terrence Crutcher? How do you not show empathy? For Aiyana Jones here. You're in a position with a man that is referring to NFL police officers as disrespecting the flag. If it were not for African Americans' struggle and sacrifice, there would be no flag. There would be no country. You're talking about a community that has fought in every war. And black folks fought on both sides of the Revolutionary War. If anybody understands what that flag means, it's black folks. Because we have shed blood, sweat, tears, and toil for it. Don't nobody understand American exceptionalism like black folks do, because we have sacrificed the most for it to be what it is. There is not an institution, Harvard, Yale, Brown, Tiffany's and Company, Chase Bank, Wall Street, all these things started out from slavery. All of them. The Capitol, the White House, that was built by slaves. Before I take this caller, I gotta say, I want to say hello to Al and his wife who watch every Sunday. Al's wife spoke to my mom yesterday at Miss Persons' funeral, Eastside Lane. She passed away. She will surely be missed. I just want to say I love you. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for watching. I also want to thank Miss Watson for sponsoring the Young Effect this month. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Love you, appreciate you. You the best. Praise the Lord. Hello. Okay, we got some more callers. Caller, you on the air. Welcome to the Young Effect.
Praise the Lord. Hello.
Hey, what's up?
I just had to tell you that what Reggie Reg is trying to do is an excellent step forward. They can't use the gun if they don't have the bullet.
That's true.
So that's a start. President Trump is not interested in anything that's happening but his money. He is invested. They're giving him money from Turkey. His son-in-law, the prince, already said he has his son-in-law in his pocket, Jared Kushner. That's what the prince said. Also, we should start fighting back. Look what they're doing in Georgia.
Yeah, that's crazy what they're doing to
It's blatant out in the open.
The Secretary of State out there is just trying to just suppress black vote by so many
votes he's holding.
Yeah, man, for Stacey Abrams.
Mostly black.
I think it was like 65% of them, I think, are black or somewhere within that number.
Okay. I'll give you that. But
That's outrageous.
Tell you another thing.
But that's why we need to restore the Voting Rights Act as Section 5 clearance as well. Because there were laws that was there in order to stop this type of behavior, particularly in the South, where the federal government, where they had to actually get authorization from the federal government before they implement these laws into place
to block
black folks from voting.
They're not only doing it in the South, they're doing it in the North too. So we have to fight, like Eric Holder said, we have to get tough. We got to stand on that and stop using a pencil to take to a gunfight.
Yeah.
Or a knife to take to a gunfight. Knock them down. I'm not talking about physically fight, but get in the groove and fight. Stop being so soft and weak and sitting back and faking all this mess.
Yeah, you gotta get tough.
And we just gotta follow up what Eric Holder said. Stop that talking about when they go low, we go high. Those days are way over. That was a nice statement.
Oh, you don't like what Michelle Obama was saying about going low and going high?
When they were in office.
You can't talk about Michelle Obama like that.
That's what she was talking about when they were calling them animals and monkeys and stuff.
Yeah.
She said, when they go low, we go high. But they don't took it to another level.
That was DeSantis, I think, or Duplantis, who basically said that about Andrew Gillum in Florida, that we need to stop monkeying up the vote and stuff like that. Yeah, man. I mean, look, Eric Holder.
I love what's happening in Florida.
Yeah,
and he was out there working like the other people. And if we keep our heads straight, he's going to win there in Florida. So we're going to have a win in Georgia and a win in Florida. And I'm claiming both of them. And start counting these bullets. Pass that law. At least do something.
What's Reggie Reg doing with bullets?
Yes.
What's he doing?
He's making it so when you need your bullet, you go to a police station. And they put a thing on that bullet. So if you shoot somebody, you'll know.
So you talking about you gotta register your ammunition like you register for a gun?
That's right. And not only that, it'll have a number on it. Your bullets will have a number. Wherever you buy it, you'll get it'll be a serial number on those bullets. That's so easy.
Like micro stamping.
That's right. I love that idea. We got to start somewhere. Man. Maybe it might not be perfect. We can improve upon it. But at least think and start somewhere. And I Thank you so much.
Well, I
and
thank
kiss
you.
your mother for me.
Well, look, I mean, I got something like that similar, you know what I'm saying? You know, in terms of micro stamping, where basically they have like a laser engraved signature on the bullet once it's fired from the gun, you know, based on the where they put it on the firing pin. So every bullet that's fired can be traced back to that gun, you know, on the
Praise
shell
God.
casing.
See, I
So,
told you you're the greatest. And people expand on whatever you do. Please
so
get together with Reggie Red. You let
that's a
him know
good
what
thing.
you've done. That's what we wanted. I told you so. Didn't I tell you? Everything you do, they take it and run on. See, I didn't even know, but I'm so excited.
I'm
They take
glad.
everything you do and just run away with it. I thought it was something new. Please.
Nah, that ain't new.
You two need to get together on that. He need to come to you.
I think it would be new for the county to start doing that. I don't know if I've never heard that from the county. I know from states. The only state that does that now, I think, is California.
I don't care. It needs to be implemented.
Okay.
Especially in the city of Detroit.
All right.
Thank you so much for taking my call.
Love you. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for sponsoring the show. Appreciate you. You got another caller? Caller, hello?
Hello? Yes. Sorry to call back.
Yeah, go ahead. You clear now. Go ahead.
Yeah, the young lady just got off the phone. She's absolutely right. I support what Reggie Red is doing. You know, you have to start somewhere. He wants in these gun shops where you limit the amount of ammunition or something.
Well, she supports what he's doing too.
So it's planned in the South. You have to start somewhere to try to keep these the criminals, even though they're the way to get it. But you know, anytime somebody come up with an idea that's going to try to help all this shooting and killing our children, I support it. There was a gun range owner, a black dude, I can't think his name anyway. He was on it. He was going against the regiment, want to bring up and all like that. But you know, some of them people is about keeping their money coming to them. They don't care about us, and I'm talking about us against us. You know, and I know it sounds cold, but it's the truth. And like she was saying about our president, first lady, Obama, wife, when she said that stand up and sit low or something like that. Yeah, I go. But nevertheless, she's right. Right then it was good and all. Not just taking it to another level of different people. You can benefit them. We got to get out, one thing, and vote on November 6th. Get out there and vote. It'll be before you know it. If you do not vote, you have no sense of it.
Yeah, you need to vote.
To the back first and vote for them judges and vote yes. I'm voting yes on all 50 proposals that they want to. I'm voting for Democrat. I'm strictly a Democrat. I'm for the bird or dog run. If it's a Democrat, vote for them judges because they're important. And vote. I'm voting for all three proposals. I'm voting yes. I'm going to hang up and look. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for that call. Yeah, that's important, man. We going to go into great detail over all those proposals, too, in a little bit. What they are, what they do, and everything that should be on the ballot, and what you should expect, and, you know, how I think about it, and what you want to vote for, and all that. I'm voting for all the proposals, too, man. So, we got some callers. Yeah, no more callers. Okay, cool. So, back to what I was talking about earlier. Look, I'm not saying that Kanye should or should not meet with him. If that's something you want to do, that's very important to always meet with the president. And throughout history, we've always had people who have met with folks who were racist or who had different views on African, or had negative views. You know what I'm saying? You know, or viewed black folks as being inferior to them throughout history. Yeah. I don't have my person. I don't have my mom talk to me right now. No, I'm good. So, look, here's what I was saying. Kanye had an opportunity to be able to use his influence to talk to the president about real issues. And he didn't. He made a spectacle of himself. And I think he let people down. Look, you can vote for who you want to vote for. I personally don't think anybody who's African American should be voting for Donald Trump, quite frankly. I don't think he represents the best interest. I personally don't think anybody should be voting for him. Period. I don't think he represents the best interest of America. I don't think he represents the best interest of our Arab American brothers and sisters, or our Latino brothers and sisters, or our working class brothers and sisters. I just don't. But if that's what you want to do, you need to be able to hold him to account. Politics is about compromise, but it's also about negotiation. And the problem that I have, particularly within the African American community sometimes, is that we practice what Claude Anderson calls a doctrine of unequal exchange, where we are willing to give up the store in exchange for trinkets. And that type of negotiation, like people sitting in the room talking about they're just so happy to be in the room and we're just so glad to be in the room, it's not about being in the room. And it's not just about saying smart things when you're in the room. It's about having an agenda and getting those things on the president's, having your agenda become the president's agenda, and making sure that those agenda items are important to him. And that this is what he needs from you, and this is what you need from him. And a lot of times we are willing to do what the person in power wants from us, but they're not willing to do what we need from them. And this is something that just don't happen with Kanye West and with President Trump. This is what happens in Michigan and Detroit all the time. I can't tell you how many meetings I've been in. I can't tell you how many people I done sat with. I can't tell you how many people I done talked to. And every single time we get in that meeting with them, they tell us what they want from us. And then when we say what we want from them, it don't ever get done. I was in the room with Governor Snyder once, and we were talking about something. I don't even remember. I think it was about something involving, like, I think it was about the emergency manager law or something like that. We were in the room. We were talking. And I wasn't saying I was going to support it, but I just wanted to see, just out of curiosity, and I really wanted to see, just out of where we were in the process, like, what are we going to get from this? Like, if you're going to come in and you're going to do all this stuff, you're going to come in, you have the ability to be able to control the city, you have the ability to be able to regionalize the water department, you have the ability to be able to make Belle Isle State Park, you have the ability to be able to lay off workers, to eliminate health care for city retirees, slash pension benefits for not just actives, but for current retirees. You have all that ability. What do Detroiters receive from that? Like, are we going to get auto insurance reform for that? Are we going to get residency for that? Are we going to get, like, job training for that? We're going to get community benefits from that. You building a bridge. Are we going to, like, train Detroiters here and put them to work on that and start a whole new career from that? You got all these folks who are suffering from high water rates. Are we going to invest in our water systems to make sure that we can keep water rates affordable? So you ain't got over 100,000 people with water shutoffs, and Amnesty International in here, which usually goes after banana republics in third world countries, saying that this is one of the worst crises they've ever seen. The UN condemning Detroit as an anti-human. The water crisis is such a problem here, it was considered an anti-humanitarian issue. What do we get from that? And time again, I remember I asked him about residency, and he said, oh, that's not our issue. What do you mean that's not your issue? You coming in here taking everything we have, you know, because the bankruptcy, the property in the city is going to be devalued. So it's going to be cheaper for the people who are coming in to be able to buy all this land and start these businesses and have these type of opportunities. Where are Detroiters going to fit into this plan? There was no demand for that. There was no negotiation for that. And so I say this to say this in closing. Kanye's biggest problem, Detroit's biggest problem, I think black people, and I think that on some level, and I don't want to speak totally nationally, but on some level for African American people, it's having an agenda and then making that agenda a demand. Not a suggestion, not a courtesy, a demand. And it's standing firm with that demand. It's follow up and follow through. And saying if we don't get what we want here, we leaving the table. But as long as black people don't demand that and don't stand up and fight for that, it's not going to happen. We have got to play to win. We can't continue to keep playing to play. Otherwise, we're going to be in the situation that we in. So, with that being said, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you. I'm Coleman Alexander Young, the second-year state senator. God bless you. We'll see you next time right here on The Young Effect.